What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to ForTheFans, the bi-weekly football and football manager podcast with myself, Jack, and my co-host, Ben. Today is a Football Manager 2014 special. The beta for the new instalment of the game came out last week. We're going to be talking about that. Let's get straight into this. So Ben, Football Manager 2014 came out this week. What did you make of it? We're getting straight into it this week, to the point.
I was excited by, well, I've been saying for a few weeks on the podcast actually that I've been ready for this. This has been a long time coming for me. And personally, it's living up to all expectations and surpassing a few as well. I'm having a great time. Are you equally enjoying it? You've been pumping out the videos like you've got a sort of agenda. So go on.
I was enjoying it until my save got broken, but you know, we're past that now. It's in the past, the fact that the Watford save's dead.
Let it go.
But besides that, it was a nice introduction to the game, and I've taken to a duck to water on this new tactic engine and stuff.
Because you weren't sure though, were you? You were not. We'll go straight up. We'll talk a little bit about tactics, but why not? You weren't sure whether it was going to be good because you missed the sliders, didn't you, Jack? And we argued about this quite aggressively.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not convinced because there are some times where I don't feel like I can get the team to do exactly what I want to do based off the kind of, I guess, instructions that you can give them and the team instructions. Like, the sliders allow you to see precisely what you're doing, be that adjusting the width, just how wide you're going. Like, because by adding a shout in FM13, that would then adjust the sliders and you could see that. And my worry is, without being able to see precisely what things are going to do, it becomes a lot harder to kind of imagine, I suppose, just exactly what you're telling the players to do.
Yeah, I think my argument at the time and my argument now is that, well, what my first argument was, I didn't use them that often. I'll admit that now. And when I did use them, it was very, very rarely. And I also think this is more realistic. I think you agree that it's more realistic. You just don't necessarily prefer it.
I agree it's more realistic, but it's like I said to you, now, with player roles, I don't feel like it is as realistic in some ways. Because you'll have a player and you might be like, right, I want this guy to play winger. And before, on the sliders, you'd then be able to load up the player, view the winger role, and see exactly what the winger has to offer, what his instructions are. And then you could adjust the sliders to add the new instructions. Whereas this year, you have your winger, you have your engagement, you have all your new roles, but you can't physically see what they're going to do unless you watch them in game. I mean, sure, there's that description that's like a few paragraphs talking about the role, but a lot of it's down to Sports Interactive's interpretation of that role and how they implement it into the game, into exactly what it has to do. So,
are you saying they've not done that well enough then? Do you feel like there needs to be more description or literally just more options?
I think what they've done is, by removing the sliders, they've removed a description of the role or a form of the description. Because it's like, in real football, I could tell a player, I want you to play a winger. And whilst, as we've kind of established and as with the new player instructions where you can like tell them extra things, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different kind of ways a winger can play. And what I'd argue is that the base of a winger, before you've added anything, kind of the basic winger, is very contentious as it is, and in not showing that as a slider and what's actually being physically affected by the additional instructions, you as a manager don't necessarily know exactly what you're telling the player to do by playing that role.
I guess the argument against that is that, like, we're going back to a realism issue really, but if you're a manager, you can tell a player what to do, that doesn't mean they'll do it. So I guess there's that sort of free will about Football Manager this year, that you haven't got total control, but you can influence it to a certain point.
Yeah. I mean, the other problem I have is that kind of, you've got to consider we're now in like the day of the £80 million player. And if you're telling me that when you go to tell a team how wide you want your team to play, that you have an option as a real manager of let's play wide, default or narrow, and nowhere in between, I think that's a bit of a joke really. Because at the moment, you can tell your team with the new instructions at wide, default, narrow. I'm sorry, but there are more than 3 kind of standards of width. that a team will play in modern football. And from that perspective, I understand that they've tried to be more realistic, but I almost think in doing that they've made it less realistic, but they've also removed some of the tactical depth and kind of, I guess, I want to say like the layers of the meta game, as in how complex the game is, how the gameplay works for you as the player. And that's my biggest worry with the change. But I do enjoy it. I was a little bit apprehensive, and I'm sure in a few more weeks I'll be singing its praises, but I still have my doubts.
I love it. There it is. Because I used shouts quite a lot anyway. They were something I was a regular user of. And now it feels like they've just gone, let's do more shouts. Everyone's shouting now. There's so many shouts. There's just noise.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying the noise. It's a good noise.
I do think, though, that when you go to team instructions now, the panel on the left where you have your mentality and your styles, like if you're playing fluid or rigid, and then your mentality, like attack, counter, whatever, that left-hand side looks so empty now. They could have filled up that space.
Oh, you're saying they should have worked that space.
Yeah, I see what you did there. That was clever.
Thank you. I know.
Take a bow.
As well.
We should point out, guys, that Ben's editing this episode today, so if you noticed it's somewhat funnier or some more crappy jokes have been left in, it's him to blame for it.
Well, you say blame. I think compliment. I think that in previous episodes, Jack, we've missed my jokes. Because I don't know if people listening realise, I feel like I'm going on a tangent here, and believe me, Jack, this will be staying in. This is not getting cut. I tell some great jokes, and Jack just cuts them, and then they're just like silence in places where I think, I told a really funny joke there. But so, this week, expect loads of funny whips.
Can't wait.
Sorry, did that bug you? Speaking of bugs, have you had any...
bugs, let's get straight into this.
Have you had any weird bugs?
Not necessarily weird. I had one where I won the Championship Manager of the Month, but it came up saying in the news item that I was the League One Manager of the Month.
I was going to say, winning the Manager of the Month, believe me, for you, that probably is a bug. But... Oh. Yeah. So is that weird then, is it? That it's just... Why does it do that?
Well, I don't know, because on the right it says, you've received this message because you're subscribed to the Championship. But it's like, but you're telling me I'm a League One manager. And they're like heartbroken, like, Watford aren't in League One, I've not got relegated.
Maybe they were setting your standard.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, just honesty. But I've not had that many. I feel like the only bug, and I'm not even sure if it's a bug, and it kind of comes into my worst features, is goalkeepers do weird things.
I've noticed with the keepers, and I talked about this in a video, but the keepers can make the most ridiculous saves in the world. And this year, unlike Football Manager 2013, on key highlights, keepers actually make saves, which is a lovely change.
Yeah, I feel like it's not as difficult to make a save now.
No, but then the thing that I've noticed is sometimes your keeper comes out in a one-on-one, and the ball just gets passed wide, and he's like just kind of stands still and goes, well, that's been knocked around me. And just watch it. I don't know if you've seen it, like where the ball gets squared past the keeper, and he doesn't move across with the ball to the other side of his goal. He kind of just stands there and watches.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't play a lot. I play a lot of my games in 2D, so I can't actually see what he's doing. I don't know if he's just like on the phone.
You don't want to see it, mate. It's more painful to bear witness to it that way.
See, I've been watching your videos, and I can't think of a time it's actually occurred.
Yeah, it more happens off screen, but I have seen it a few times. I've seen Lasad. I don't know if you saw like where he scored a diving header for me. The tune he's seen that, but he like scored a diving header in a one-on-one. Like keeper comes out charging, and he just dives head first. I'm like, what are you doing, son?
Yeah, it was a bit John Terry-esque in the goal scoring.
Yeah,
like I said, it's a bug. But I feel like, I guess this is my biggest gripe, and I might mention this again in the worst things about Football Manager 2014. But I feel like goalkeeper inconsistency is a big one. Like you'll have it, like, as you say, you'll have a keeper who'll make like the same keeper will make great saves, and then there'll be a cross to the back post, and he'll like let it go through his hands and it'll go in. And that might happen more often than not, and it's kind of a bit like, I don't concede that one.
Keepers never seem to get good ratings. Like maybe once in a blue moon I'll see them get a good rating, but I don't think I've ever had a keeper get an average over 5 games of more than a 7.0.
Yeah, I'm a few seasons in, and I don't think I've seen... I'm Norwich on my save, we'll talk about it in a bit, but I don't think I've seen John Reddy get a man of the match.
Yeah.
No, I've done pretty well, so I don't know if that's just coincidence or... I think defenders tend to get it more than the goalkeeper.
I've noticed centre-backs getting a hell of a lot of them, but then I've seen a lot of people complaining, and I don't know if it's a bug about defenders being incapable of tackling.
I've not noticed it.
I've noticed it.
Maybe it's happening.
It's once or twice when I've seen a player running at a player and him not being able to tackle him, but the thing I'd say is that ultimately if you're watching on key or extended highlights, you're not seeing the times when he does get the ball because it's not a highlight.
Very good point. And it's not as if like defenders never don't make a tackle. That's not a good way to word that. But sometimes they do make an error and it leads to a goal.
Well, it's like, I'd say once in every 4 games in real life, there will be a defender who misses a tackle or doesn't put in a tackle when he should have done. And I don't know if it's just in FM that because you notice it more because it's like back to back, but I've seen so many people like complaining about the defenders being incapable of tackling. But if they couldn't tackle, then you'd be conceding a load of goals. And I think people, if you watch a game on Fulham Football Manager this year, I don't know if you've ever done it. I did it a little bit in FM13 when I'm tinkering with tactics. But if you watch a game just full length, 90 minutes, turn up the pace a little bit, you can really see how the play develops. And in all, centre-backs, if anything, got off ridiculous at tackling. Like, I've not seen a striker effectively hold up a ball for a team yet in FM this year.
I have, but it's when I've used a massive striker. And I did it intentionally for that reason, actually. It's funny you mentioned that. Because I felt like you say, the ball would kind of hit a top end striker, and it would just sort of bounce off him, whether he's heading it or not, and it would be nicked away. I'm thinking, that's not what I need to do. I need to get it and then pass it short and go again.
Yeah.
So maybe it's literally down to the players you've got. I don't know. Maybe. Well, do you use a target man? Is that have you used a target man yet? 'Cause I don't think you have.
I've tried it. Didn't really work for me. I think the thing is, for example, on the Watford save, which the save I've played the most on, had Troy Deeney and Carlos Fierro up front in the Premier League. Neither of them are going to win that much in the air. Like, Deeney's okay in the air, but if you've got Vidic stood behind you, he's not going to win a lot. And so I feel like strength, I don't want to say strength comes into it a lot more, but just in general, it feels like for a player to perform just in general to their role, they have to be really well suited to it. This year.
I agree with that.
Like, there's been a lot of big things made about roles this year, because if you go to a professional club now, they always talk about players in roles. If you watch Monday Night Football with Gary Lineker and Gary Lineker, oh my god,
Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher.
There's the one. They talk about players in roles. They talk about midfield parents. Like, you have your ball-winning midfielder, you have your advanced playmaker, and it's like that's become a big bit of football now. And I kind of feel like you have to have the players to play each role in a tactic for it to work effectively. Like, if one cog isn't quite there, if you don't have that ball-winning midfielder, or maybe you're playing like a player who can't tackle in ball-winning midfielder, it will cost you, because it's almost as bad as playing a player completely out of position. Yeah,
like I've had players that are down as kind of being an advanced playmaker, and because of injuries or suspensions or whatever, I've had to play him in a ball-winning midfield role, and it's just never the same. I don't always lose it, but it's always like, I feel like I'm under so much more pressure when I haven't got the correct player in the correct role. So I think you're absolutely right when you say that the player certainly is dependent on which role he's taking and whether it suits him. I think that's a big thing this year.
One thing I've noticed this year, and it carries over from FM13, is the fact that crosses always hit the crossbar.
Is that with you as well?
It's been the case for years, and it's still the case. Like, I had a game where I had 4 highlights in one game of crosses hitting the crossbar.
Yeah, I guess that's not something I really... Cause we were thinking about before, about what's a bug or what's kind of repetitive. And you're absolutely right, the crossbar thing happens to me all the time. So I'm glad that's... If it happens to you, please leave a comment. I want to see if that is a widespread thing, or if that's just a coincidence that we have had it.
See, I think the other thing is people have complained about the lack of a match engine trait, improvement this year. But, I mean, to be fair, they've definitely made some changes. The new lighting and new aesthetics on 3D view. Obviously, there's not much you can do on 2D. But a lot of people who've been complaining about stuff like the 3D match engine kind of animations and stuff. And I was actually talking to Darren from FM Stories about this a few weeks ago. And we were basically discussing the fact that, is the game still running on a 2D engine and the 3D view is just animation stuck in to mimic the ball movements? Or is it reverse engineered? Like, it's an interesting idea. Is the 2D match engine and the 3D match engine separate? Or which one works off which? Because obviously the game started off in 2D, then they moved it into 3D. But when they moved it into 3D, did they build a whole new 3D, a whole new engine for the 3D, then turn the 2D basically into a radar view of the pitch? Or was it reverse engineered so that what you see is animation? So, say when stuff weird happens, like your keeper doesn't move, is that just an afterthought because it's basically based off the 2D engine and the keeper wouldn't move there, but you wouldn't complain about it because you couldn't see it?
That's a very interesting... Do you know what? I've never thought about it like that, but that's a very interesting point.
Because there's stuff like when there was a glitch in FM13 where free kicks would go through the roof of the net and in, and people would complain about it. This was when the game first came out. It was a big problem. But is that a problem with the match engine, or is that a problem with the animation? Because the game could be saying, right, that's a goal, this free kick's going to go in, and the animation just doesn't reflect that properly. It's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it the animations that are off? Is it the match engine that's off?
The egg definitely came first.
I'll leave you with that thought.
Well, no, the egg definitely came first.
Which is the egg in this instance, then?
I don't know. I don't think chicken or the egg was the best example.
No, it wasn't. I apologise for that.
It was definitely the egg. Just to clarify. So, what you've done there is throw a spanner in the works. And that phrase does work.
Because I've totally mind-fucked you with this dilemma of which is which.
Well, what's happened is you've got me thinking about chicken omelettes. So...
Oh.
Everything's been turned upside down.
I'm sorry. That was terrible.
Right.
Oh, dear.
Move on quickly. Please move on quickly.
Okay, should we move on to the best things and worst things, or do you want to cover saves first? I'll let you choose.
Well, I could talk a little bit about my Norwich save.
Talk about your Norwich save. Obviously, people know about my Watford save and how it reached its demise, so...
Yeah, how's it going?
Well, it's gone. It's gone. You've hit a raw nerve.
Let it go. It already has, so you might as well catch up. No, I started a Norwich save. Not the most challenging of saves, but I thought, I want to be bedded in quite nicely. They've got quite a few new signings. So I thought, and I'm a little bit of a partial Norwich fan, so I can talk about that, right?
Yeah.
That's still fair. Yeah, first season, I made one signing, and this, if people have watched your Watford save, will feel like I've copied you here, but I did it first. Let's clarify. Will Hughes, 7 million, so a better price already. Maybe for not as good a player, now I think about it. Because obviously you bought him when he was...
After a season, yeah.
Yeah. But I got him in for 7 million, straight into the team. He's been excellent, I can't lie. So, first season, I think we finished 8th. I can't remember, I've not got it in front of me. But I'm pretty confident we finished 8th. One signing, few went out. Really good, really loving it, thinking this is great. The board were loving me, fans were loving me, everyone was loving me. Next season rolls around, oh God. So much drama, so much pain. I bought in a few players. I bought in Marco Marin, pretty cheap, like 500k. Quagliarella, bought him in, same price. Barini, 2.7 million. I'm thinking, here we go. Shit's about to get real. No, it didn't. It was horrendous. Barini, Gary Hooper and Wolfswinkel scored about 14 between them. The board were threatening me constantly, going, look, pick it up or you're out. Win this next game or you're out. Luckily I was winning those games and then getting hammered by United like 8-0, which may or may not have happened. So it gets to the final few games and they're like, well, you've got to win these, otherwise you're out, son. I was about 14th at this point, but I predicted a top half finish. I was confident from the season before, as you would be. 8th finish with a normal squad, Will Hughes added. And I felt like I'd improved the squad. Ah, dear. So, I was in no fear of relegation, but I was in fear of the sack. Last few games don't go to plan. Right? I'm losing them. I keep losing them. So the board pulled me in towards the end of the season. They went, come on, Ben, and you get... Sit down. I was like, oh, God. I was sweating at this point.
This sounds terrifying. Can I just...
It was terrifying. I was thinking, what are they going to do? What are they going to say? They went, what do you put the poor season down to? And I went, we just got unlucky, thinking, that'll be fine. And just a few injuries, because we were injury hit. We had Leroy Fer out for about 4 months combined, which is a big miss. And they were like, that's not good enough. I was thinking, but board, come on, don't be like that. I've tried my hardest. But they carry on. I went, well, things will pick up. They're like, yeah, they better fucking pick up, which wasn't actually, that's not an option. By the way, if you've not seen that, that's because it's not an option. But they were not happy. So I was thinking, right, well, this has got to go somewhere. What's the solution? So I said to him, there's an option, which is great. It's a great option. It's the last throw of the dice. It's, what can I do? Which is basically literally what it says. What can I do to make things better, board? I'm so sorry. It's like
apologise.
It's like when the girlfriend's gone, look, we're over. But what can I do? I'll change. And then you change for about 2 weeks and then you go back to the shit. Relationship advice there. You didn't come for that, did you? So they went, right, 9 points from the next 5 games. I was thinking, oh, good God. And I didn't know the fixture list because we were rolling into next season by this point. And I'm about, 15 games in to the next season. And I got 9 points from my first 5 games. First game was Man United, lost that one. I was thinking, oh God, I'm gone. And then I had like Reading, Southampton, Swansea, and I won a few of those. Oh, you know what? I feel like getting that off my chest has done me wonders.
Right, so
So it's going all right.
Just remember, everything that we've discussed in this meeting won't be discussed outside of this room.
Oh, well, you should say that. Now, that brings me back onto another vital part of the save. You can now see what the board think of you.
I do like that. Yeah.
And it says, and for me, it says, not that bothered, small wage, we could get rid easily. I'm thinking, what? Hang on.
I've seen that, yeah. It's under the confidence tab, isn't it? They've added it.
So I thought, well, I best get a new contract. And I went in, and I was like, I'd quite like a new contract, please. And they were like, we don't feel like your current performance. Still bitter about last season, by the way, which I was annoyed about to start off with. I was thinking, forget it, I've got the 9 points. I thought we're on a high here. And by the way, right now I'm 6th. I don't know how many games in, I can't remember, but I'm 6th with about 15, 20 games gone. So they're loving it. I bought in Athelai. And Geniac, and we're a monster again. Sorry, the tangents in this story really haven't gone well. This is now an FM story. Enjoy the listen. So, new contract, head into the office. I'm back in, same chair still there. You can still see the sweat dripping from last time. So I sit myself down. I'm like, right, board, new contract. They're like, no, you've not been good enough. I was like, please, I need the board and the fans. I need the players to feel like I'm part of this club and we're going somewhere. I was so passionate. At this point, I was screaming at them. They were like, no. So I was like, fine, leak to press, which is a great option. I was like, well, I'm going to tell the press then. And then they get me back in and go, we heard you talking to the press and we're not happy about it. And I just denied all knowledge. But I knew I'd done it. I felt like I was going behind the back of the board.
What press?
What press? I don't read the papers. I just talk to them. No, and I told the press that I wasn't happy, that I wasn't getting a contract. And they were equally annoyed with me saying that. So now our relationship is, despite the fact we're 6th, they're not happy. I'm insecure. So that's my save. What about your Watford save, Jack? How's that coming along?
Oh, well, we all know what happened there, Ben.
I just want to get you involved.
I just get a little bit upset every time. I mean, I do like the new interactions. That's one of my kind of favourite new things about this game. Kind of this new level of depth in terms of the conversations you have and the relationships you build up with chairman, with staff. The new kind of press questions. The way that now press conferences are kind of integrated into your news inbox is like makes me want to do them more rather than having to click through them. And you can quite easily send your assistant if you're just not up to it.
Yeah, but, if you lose.
But I mean, yeah, I like the game from a story standpoint. If I had one kind of, I don't even know if it's a bug, but you reminded me of it when you said you signed Athelai, when he got loaned out to Brighton in the first season on my save. And I've seen some very odd transfers. Obviously, on my save, I loaned in Sacco, Reva and Romero, and I'm not convinced how set in stone the reputation link is between clubs and players. I mean, if it is like that, then it could make the game a little easier, because I was certainly able to sign a lot better players for Watford, having gone up, than I ever anticipated I'd be able to.
It's funny you mention that, actually. I want to something. It's not. I don't know if it's a bug or if it's just something in the game this year. But unless you put in a recall player loan, I can't loan people.
I've not tested that, but I think that because obviously with FM they strive for realism, but I'm pretty sure now pretty much every single loan done has that, because they've changed the way emergency loans work in some of the leagues. So it's kind of better to be safe than sorry, because there is obviously the emergency loan system, but it means, I think that's the emergency loan system. One of the things is that if you have players you can recall, you have to recall them. But I don't know. I mean, that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah, I just can't seem to loan. Like, I've been going after players, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm definitely getting this kid on loan. And I like suggest the terms, and whoever it is, whether it's Chelsea for like Ramirez or someone, they're like, yeah, great. And I take out the recall player, and then because I don't want them to recall him. You know, I want him for the whole season. Why would I want him to be recalled?
To be fair, I've never seen the computer recall a player.
No, because I noticed, because I pay close attention, and I saw that you had Sacco on a recall thing. Yeah. So I was thinking, they better not recall him during your season, because that'd be a nightmare. But you seem to have got a really good loan there based on that clause. Yeah. And I don't know if I like it, because it seems, because now I've got a few players on loan. I think I've got 2 on loan, and they're both on recall things. And I'm thinking, I don't want them to be recalled. Like, that's why I'm trying to take that out, but you won't let me. I don't know if that's going to be a consistent thing the whole way through or what, but
the transfers, all in all, like, I know you were saying, like, some young players seem really overpriced, but I think...
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I'll let you rant away.
Sorry, I feel like this is just the getting stuff off my chest moment from the last week of playing it. But there was this regen, 5-star regen, absolute god of a player. English, played for Tottenham. I thought, well, I've seen Jack do it in his videos. He pinches regens all the time. I think I'll have a little look at this. So I go in, offer like $1 million. At this point, he's worth about 70k. You know how it works.
Yeah.
So I go in at $1 million. He's 16. They come back 19 million. I'm like, for God's sake, what's all that about? 90. I know he's going to be an absolute well beater. He could arguably be the best striker in the game in 5 years' time. But I was just a bit like, so then I waited a year and went back and they were like 29 million. I thought, I'm giving up on him, so I'm never getting him.
See, I saw something similar where there was a player in the German third tier. I can't even tell you who he played for, but he was a regen. And Bayern Munich, at the age of 14, signed him for £6 million.
See, that's not realistic. That annoys me a little bit.
But maybe it will be realistic in the future. Maybe this guy was born with the ability to do keepy-ups.
Yeah, but that's terrible. If that becomes a thing, I never want to see 14-year-olds bought for $6 million.
But do you not think it's better that at least now the computer will challenge you for regens?
Yeah, now that...
and throw money at them.
That's a good point. You can't just poach... I don't want to say you did it, Jack, but you did it on this United Manchester save.
I think it is a contentious issue, the regen thing. Was it last week we discussed how that could be changed? I think it was, when we talked about the change in the dates and stuff and how it would all work and attribute masking and whatever. Pretty sure we did that last episode, but it's like, with regens, I understand why someone's going to be like, oh, poaching regens is cheap on regen day. But ultimately, I will spend just as much time searching for players randomly and be like, oh, it was the Jamaican regen day in August, right? Okay, this guy... And then when I'm in September and I find this like Jamaican on a youth contract, of course you're going to snap him up. But is that as cheap? Because I haven't looked for the regen day, he's just appeared. And I'd say, is there a real difference between that and consciously looking because you know it's the date? And there probably is a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
But I think... I don't know.
It's whether you're being genuine or if you're just harvesting, effectively. It's whether you're genuinely looking for players and you find someone, you're going, oh, right, he's a regen, I'll try and snap him up. Or if you're hoarding through 92 clubs in England, trying to look for the best English players.
Well, the thing is, everyone knows the European regen dates are at the 13th of March is the England one, and March time is when you want to search for regens.
Yeah.
But does that make it cheap? Because that's just a bit of manager's knowledge, right? New players are coming into the senior teams. Let's see who there is. I'm sure it happens in real world football.
I've never thought about how unrealistic that is, though. I've never thought about that. Because that obviously doesn't happen in... Well, not to my knowledge anyway, as someone that was involved in a lot of youth football. Does that happen in real life? Is there a particular date where...
Players can be... Yeah, that's
you become of an age and get promoted. I guess how else do you feed players in? That would probably be a more complex thing to do. You'd have to do 2 players in January, 3 players.
Right, we've got the under-12 team and we've got a new region. The thing is, though, no matter how far you scale it down in terms of age group, there's always going to be a way to poach 8-year-olds who turn up. Because you hear about it in real life. There was a guy in Lincoln a few years ago where I used to live, and he was 8 years old and Real Madrid signed him.
Yeah, I guess the only way you do it is if you brought in, you kept bringing in. Actually, no, this is what they should do. We are going on a tangent here about regens, but surely they should bring in players throughout the year because that's what happens in real life. Well, you had a great idea last week, and I feel like I'm bringing something to the table that this shouldn't be going on. You should have almost obviously not exactly this, but a regen a month almost. It would make poaching regens so much harder.
That's what I was saying to you. If you didn't have a set date, if you had a period of 9 months when players came in, it would just be better. But we have gone way on a tangent here. The regen dates are the same in FM14 as they were in FM12. Still not changed, if anyone actually wondering. Should we go on to our loves and hates of the game so far? And I'll let you kick things off, although I feel like we've kind of touched upon this already.
Yeah, I guess I'll fire through them because we've spoken about a few. I love the way contracts are handled. Not just the way that it takes a bit of your budget. I actually like that. I don't know if that's a crazy thing to say, but I like that. And then I like the fact you can then ask your player who wants a new contract occasionally to sack his agent, which works kind of 50% of the time. That's a great feature. I love the press conferences. We spoke about that. I think they're brilliant. So quick to do. You can fire through 5 questions within 10 seconds now, whereas before it would take you forever to just click, read everything, click. And the options are actually good this year as well. I even like have chats with other managers. I don't know if you do this. You actually, no, you said you did with Roy Keane. You were battering him.
Mate, me, Roy Keane and Glenn Hoddle, we don't get along, okay? We don't get along. Let's just leave it there.
I love that. I think the tactics, we brushed on that. I like the way that it's more shout-based and kind of role-based than slider-based, mainly because I didn't use the sliders as much. I know you're still indifferent, so, you know.
Yeah.
What else do I really like? I'll tell you what, the match day screen.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That is probably my favourite thing. That's a big shout. That may be my favourite thing about the game this year, that the fact that the match day screen is kind of, before you create your team selection, you get a nice overview of everything. The training, I think, is far better. The fact you know how many players are unhappy, and it's a lot easier to change training.
The pie charts. The pie charts are delightful.
I love a pie chart.
Never thought I'd be saying that in FM, but I do love a bit of a pie chart.
I remember being like 14 in maths going, I'm never going to use pie charts. And now, what do I know? You know what? I just love the game. I'm sure there's more things that I can't think of right this very second, but there's so much that I love about it. Go on, what do you like? What's your favourite thing?
What do I like? I do like the kind of story elements of it, how you can have these relationships with players and managers, like you said. So it's like with Roy Keane and Glenn Hoddle and whoever, you know, I'd always be asked about them and slag them off in the press. Like, even if there wasn't a game, I'd still be asked about them. It's like, oh, you said this about him 2 weeks ago. Yeah, well, I still think he's a whiny little bitch. Kind of got these little, you know, bitching sessions going on in the press, and it's the fact the press remember, and then when you meet up against teams and managers again, like, it comes back up in the press, the questions, and like these relationships kind of build up. And also, say you lose to a team in the first half of the season, in the second half of the season you can like tell your players you want to avenge the defeat they inflicted on us before.
Yeah, I like that.
Earlier on in the season in the team talk, and there's just some nice little link up bits. It's like we discussed last week, I don't feel like the game's reinvented the wheel, but I think for the people who really enjoy Football Manager, there's been some improvements to the match engine. Alright, it's not perfect, it's never going to be perfect, but it's definitely getting there.
Yeah.
And then I feel like all the little ones, as we discussed last week, have just made the bigger picture a hell of a lot better. And I think if you enjoy FM, you're going to enjoy it more. I still don't... I know they kind of introduced Classic Mode as kind of a toned-down version. I still don't feel as if that kind of acts... I think that one of the reasons they did Classic Mode was so it's like a toned-down version for new players to the game. But I think the changes they've done this year certainly cater it far more to the established fan base that the game already has.
Yeah, they've made it. It just runs a lot smoother for me. I'm not talking like my computer's brilliant. I'm talking about that I can glide through a save now, whereas before I'd find it a bit stop-start. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, I feel like everything is just in place for me. I don't have to go searching for stuff, and press conferences is a big part of that, I assume. That and training, boardroom meetings are so much easier now. They're not entirely different. I just feel like the response is actually good. Like, I don't feel like I'm talking to the board and they just like flat no. There's always like another question which lets you get a little bit more in depth with the topic, and you can kind of either understand why they're not doing it. Because before, like, you had this problem massively on your FC United Manchester, where you'd never get a new stadium and you'd never get a reason why.
Yeah.
Effectively. And now I feel like if you actually go in and ask for a new extension or a new stadium, they'll tell you why almost. Not to the detail. They won't say, oh, because we haven't got the funds or whatever. But it'll be, I don't know, I just feel like I feel like I'm closer to a board, which is a big part of football now. And I don't think FM did that well enough last year, and then this year I think they certainly do.
One sec, Ben, sorry, someone knocked on my door. You'll have to edit this out. Have fun. I think for me, one of the big improvements is the new match engine. Like, not necessarily how it plays, just the aesthetics. Like, in some of the alpha footage they showed in the summer, I really wasn't too impressed by kind of what they were showing. But then by the beta, you know, you had these new in detailed kits. The lighting was a lot more apparent. I love the new closer camera. I don't know what you think of that.
Because my computer's not the best, but I find myself using. Like, I don't have the stadium. Like, I can't see the stadium. I can just see the pitch and the players and stuff. But I use the closer camera angle recently because I just like it. It just makes the game more enjoyable. I just feel like I get more out of it using the closer camera angle. It's a better camera angle than any of the others, in my opinion. Is that controversial?
No, I think it's going to become the standard camera angle, which is really odd because in football games, nearly always the standard camera angle has been TV view.
Yeah.
But I think the closer one, particularly in FM, because I always found it tricky seeing the ball when I was recording and watching videos back, but I feel like the close, I don't know, it just looks better and you can see a little bit more of the detail, and I don't know. There's something about
it certainly makes your videos better. I certainly feel like people, I don't know if people feel the same, but I certainly feel more engaged with your saves based on the fact I can actually see what's going on.
I think the other thing about that is the new scaling options where you can have the text at 1.25 times size. Because last year I had to play in a windowed mode, which was scaled really far down. But this year, I don't know if people have noticed, but my recordings are at a higher resolution. The text is bigger and clearer. So if you're watching in 480p on kind of the middle window size on YouTube, you can watch it. The video's fine. And it's not a thing now whereby you have to watch in full screen to see everything that's happening, which I think is ideal. And although I've not had any comments on it, I definitely think it's noticeable in the video content, just as I guess I make them and watch them back.
I was going to say, this is a bit more of a broader question, but as someone who's one of the bigger YouTube channels of the Football Manager, do you feel like the game caters to you more now? Because I know you were a little bit worried because obviously it affects what you do on the site. So, I don't know, do you feel like it's better?
I feel like they've made some very nice steps in the right direction. I feel like the enhancements to the YouTube Match Day Editor, which I'm not sure if that's in the beta yet, but from what I've seen of it, basically you're going to be able to do like highlight packages of matches and upload them to YouTube as one big thing that you kind of direct to re-edit. So I think that way of getting newer people into kind of maybe just doing really basic FM videos is great. But I think in terms of some of the newer stuff, the closer camera angle is great. Then the new scaling, I feel as if they've not necessarily intentionally catered for video making, but I think it's been a very nice side effect of kind of maybe trying to make the text bigger for people who have eyesight issues, who can't necessarily read the small writing, and all the little changes. I feel like it's definitely made my job a lot easier making videos.
Yeah, I think it probably encourages you to do more. Like I said at the start, you've pumped out content, and I'm sure it being an easier game to sort of play and run through and manage, I guess, encourages you to make more and more stuff.
Not only that, though, but at the moment, there's such a surge in viewership, it's crazy. Like, I mean, my views have gone up fourfold, but just across the board, you can go on any FMer's channel, everyone's starting up new series, and it's just a really exciting time to be doing Football Manager on YouTube because there's a lot of new people coming in who haven't seen Football Manager videos before. And I kind of feel like this year is one of the first years where there is a lot of choice of content that you want to watch, and there is a lot of quality content for you to watch coming from a lot of different people. Which, I don't know, the Football Manager YouTube community has gone through a big kind of evolution in the last year. But I think standards are higher now, and I think that can only be a positive thing in terms of kind of new people coming, being impressed, not just seeing some guy mumbling in his house, with Bandicam watermarks at the top of his FM recording.
Oh, I gave it a go, Christ.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean, though. Like, you do get the people. But no, I just think the game is great this year, and it's a video that I'm going to be doing soon about making videos on YouTube, just how I do things. But I'd say if you are considering doing Football Manager videos on YouTube, there is not a better time to start than now, because there are so many people watching FM videos, and it's kind of hot at the moment as a topic.
It's the sort of thing that if people do want to do it, speaking of someone that's done videos for 5 years, that if you start now and it doesn't feel like it's going very far, by this time next year, like, for example, Jack, where were you this time last year? I'm talking this direct date last year.
This direct date last year, I was doing Call of Duty videos on a YouTube channel with about 50 subscribers. And I thought my content was great, and it was saturated as hell. I rediscovered my love for Football Manager, a game that I'd played anyway. Did a few videos in January, having kind of discovered the fact that there was this kind of budding YouTube scene growing. And the whole kind of YouTube community as a whole has just exploded in the last 9 months, and it's huge now, and it's getting bigger.
I think the advice is persevere. If you feel like you've got a personality, then have a go. And if you could appear on a podcast with me in a year's time, who knows?
Oh, gosh, I wouldn't wish that upon anyone.
What do you mean? What a prize! What a prize! In fact, we should do that as a competition. Appear on a podcast with me.
We'll do like the X Factor, but for FM YouTubers.
Nah, we could do Dragon's Ben.
Dragon's Ben, oh dear. You've been waiting for this pun to come in at some point, and now that we're talking about reality shows and the podcast, you've managed to get it in. Well done, Ben. I applaud you.
I've had it for about 3 weeks. I wanted it to be a feature, and I could think of nothing that would compare. But, Dragon's Ben.
So what, we're going to get people come into the Skype call, and you're going to interrogate them about their YouTube channels?
Yeah, and if I don't like it, I just say I'm out.
How much equity do you want for this?
No, not even that. How many subscribers do you want me to give you? That's what it would be. It'd be great. This is a great idea. It's the worst. It's a terrible idea.
I'm just sat here shaking my head. Have we got anything else we want to wrap up for today? Because originally we were going to talk about the Premier League, but I kind of feel like this Football Manager chat's really flowed nicely, and I feel as if, 2 weeks down the line, we can talk a lot more about the football, maybe do a slightly longer episode, because I think we've got some really nice topics out there today. Don't know what you've made of it.
I've liked it. I feel like we've not missed the Premier League chat, but it will be coming back. I do think it's important for the longevity. But just this week, there's a buzz around. We should talk about the buzz, shouldn't we?
Yep. So anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's podcast with myself, Jack, and Ben, as always. If you're new around here, maybe you've not seen the podcast before, click the subscribe button down below. If you go down into the description, we have a Podbean link. From there, you can actually subscribe to the podcast, which means it gets downloaded to your iTunes every week whenever we put up the podcast, which I kind of recommend you do, if you're prone to missing boxes or just not checking YouTube enough. Ben, do you have any closing thoughts to leave the people with? And don't you say it's me, Ben, and I'm out. Don't say it. Don't do it. I know you've done it the last 3 weeks. I'm not letting you this week.
It's me, Ben, and I'm out. I'm editing.
Oh, yeah, you are editing. Well, that's staying in. Hopefully you enjoyed, guys. Hit the like button. Let us know in the comments what are your favourite things about FM14. If there's any topics that we've talked about which have sparked something in your mind, let us know. Speak your mind down below. And other than that, yeah, it is me, Jack. It is me, Ben. I'm not letting Ben say anything more because he's probably just going to nick my line. And we are out, guys. We'll talk to you in a bit.
And I'm editing, and we will talk to you in a bit.
No! Stop it!
This is a Bernini sculpture of a goal, Pablo. It's perfection. Pablo, I think you'd be having to call for an oxygen tank for me, my friend.